Hello YouTubers out there, this is the Boob Wasteland Show with your host Jerry Saravia. And today I'm briefly going to review the presidential debate, the first one, which was televised on October 3rd of 2012. And of course this was the debate that I think a lot of people were expecting to see between President Barack Obama, a Democrat, and Republican presidential hopeful candidate Mitt Romney. As you know, these debates, essentially what happens is you have two candidates, or in one case, one who is already a sitting president, and the other candidate on opposite podiums, some space separated between them. There's a moderator, Jim-Lehrer, who's done it about 8 or 9 times already. He asks the questions. Basically, he does a coin toss, and he will say, one candidate has to answer the question, has a time allotted in which to answer it, which is generally about 2 minutes or 3 minutes, whatever the time is. And then the other candidate basically has a rebuttal. Or they present their own case on the topics at hand, and so on. Now, what struck me about this debate in particular is that it seemed to be lively enough. I mean, it's 90 minutes, so unless you're really into politics, which I can't say I'm really, let's say, very politically minded, but I try not to be too naive, but, I'm not exactly running for office either, so my understanding of politics, I try to look, let's put it this way, I try to look at politics sensibly. And but sense doesn't always enter the equation, so as many of you know. Anyway, it's a lively enough debate. Barack Obama, of course, has presence. I don't think anyone would deny that. Mitt Romney came across with a lot of passion, and he was on that podium being very aggressive. Sometimes he interrupted Jim-Lehrer's next question. He says, well, let me get back to what it is I was going to say. The surprise of the evening, I guess, is Barack Obama. Now, I've been following Obama since the beginning, since he was first elected, and he maintains an air of coolness, cool understatedness. In other words, he's not aggressive. He acts probably too presidential. I think there are some reasons attributed to that. For one, maybe because he is half black and thinks he doesn't want to come across as the angry black man, and there's that possibility. He hasn't really shown a whole lot of emotion, particularly in the debate or at any time really during his presidency. He is very formal. I'm not the only one that thinks this, by the way. This is a lot of critics out there think the same way of Barack Obama. Mitt Romney, I don't know what to think. I think he's more of the suave, old-style Republican, if you like. Old school, as they say. I don't like using that phrase. Let's just say he's a reminder of what Republicans looked like maybe back in the 50s or 60s. And, but he's not, he looks like a car salesman. He's like trying to sell you a pitch, whereas Barack Obama doesn't come across that way. I think he, generally speaking, seems to speak from his heart, but that's not to say it's always the case. He is still a politician. Both of them are. One thing that struck me about the debate is that Barack Obama never really seemed to face his opponent that much. He would look down and be writing things down, making notes, and occasionally look up and then look back down. He didn't really make any sort of connection. The other thing I object about these debates is that on occasion they seem to look into the camera and speak to the people. In fact, they might be reading from a teleprompter. That bothers me. A debate should be completely off the cuff. And Jim-Lehrer, his questions he picks, and he doesn't let the candidates know ahead of time what the questions will be. Hence, trying to capture their responses unawares, so to speak. So, anyway, I don't, I'm not really here to do a political discussion, which candidate I side with or not, mainly because there aren't just two political parties in this country. Even if they are the ones that get the most money, the most funding, and the most exposure, there are other political parties out there. Libertarian, Green Party, Constitution Party, we never hear from any of those people. So I'm not sure it's really a fair political process. But leaving that aside, Mitt Romney has been classified as the winner of this debate. The only thing about Mitt Romney is, again, it wouldn't be so far off a criticism from Barack Obama either, just so we're being fair here. He is more of the great pontificator, and he pontificates. He says a lot without really saying anything. This is nothing new. A lot of politicians are this way. Barack Obama at least tends to stress some of the details, even if we may not always agree on what those details are. Some seem more sound than what it is Mitt Romney says. Mitt Romney tends to be a flip-flopper. But then again, Barack Obama has sort of been a flip-flopper himself. In fact, all candidates in the past, all presidents have been. The one that comes to mind immediately is John F. Kennedy. When he said he had that interview with Walter Cronkite, which was an excerpt that was featured in Oliver Stone's JFK, rather, not Nixon, film, in which he says, we should withdraw the troops from Southeast Asia. And, but then he says, but maybe we should stay there. That's flip-flopping within, a couple of sentences. It's not even, you're not even allowing time to elapse before you make your next statement, let's say a few weeks or so, which is often the case with candidates now, or presidents now, rather. So, there is a lot of that. But again, not to say Barack Obama hasn't flip-flopped. He has on a number of issues, and has caved in on certain issues. But again, I'm not doing a political discourse here. I'm just reviewing the show, and it is a show. But Barack Obama didn't come across as well as I would have hoped. Again, I'm not taking sides. I'm just saying that by comparison, Mitt Romney seemed to be the one that really was able to challenge him. Even if, when Mitt Romney was challenged, he would answer it with another question, which is called pivoting, or bring up something else entirely that was unrelated to the topic at hand. So you got to wonder who do you really trust, Anyway, there were two things that stood out in this debate. I don't want to leave this out. One, at one point, which kind of, these two candidates can almost, in a way, it gets repetitious what they're saying because they tend to repeat certain phrases over and over again, so you almost want to fall asleep. But at one point, there was a noise in the background. Something fell, and Mitt Romney looks, and then Barack Obama looks and smiles, That was a moment that seemed a little off for, there. And also when Mitt Romney, who I've heard him say this before, wants to do away with PBS. He says, I love Big Bird, and I know Jim-Lehrer, you're also with PBS, which of course he is. It's the Lehrer News Hour, McNeil and Lehrer News Hour. And, you could see this was, you want to get rid of PBS and you're a moderator. Basically you're saying you're going to be fired, sir, if I'm president. That's really what he was saying. I don't know I remember reading this a while ago as to why he wants to get rid of PBS. The other things you can get rid of, why you're going to get rid of PBS. Get rid of TLC, for that matter, so they can get rid of that show, Honey Boo Boo. But that's another story. So, in general, I'm looking forward to the next presidential debate. I'm not interested in the vice presidential debate, to be honest with you. I don't really care for these two candidates, Paul Ryan and, of course, Joe Biden. Joe Biden, by the way, at one time, before he became vice president, was one hell of a speaker. He commanded your attention. If you've ever seen some of these hearings that he had done, particularly on the 9/11, I think he was part of the 9/11 the commission asking questions, or any hearings in the past. He was, brilliant. And then when he became vice president, something changed. I don't know, just my opinion. So I'm not really interested in seeing this debate. If you remember a few years back, he had that debate with Sarah Palin, and once again, Sarah Palin came off a little better than him. It's So anyway, the next presidential debate I'm looking forward to seeing, and of course I'll review it on this show, in addition to the third and final presidential debate. So in between is a vice presidential debate. So I'd say Barack Obama needs to beef up his persona, make more eye contact, not just smile and make notations. Because Mitt Romney was the one that was really looking at Barack Obama. I think this morning on CBS this morning they brought up a good point, which is that most presidents who've had their first debate never did very well. And also, most presidents don't get one-on-one criticism of this nature, where they're being criticized for their policies and everything else. So he's not used to that, so he needs to work on that. Because Barack Obama is a hell of a speaker, great motivational speaker, just brilliant. He's a brilliant guy. I'm not gonna, again, I'm not siding with one candidate or the other. I'm not gonna make that claim on this show, but he needs to work on that eye contact, very much so. And that's all I gotta say on that. So until next time, let's see what's up with the next presidential debate and how that looks and sounds. And yeah, that's about it. This is the Boob Wasteland Show with your host Jerry Saravia, signing off.